we turn net zero ambition into comprehensive adventure? Shall Oman brings us the answer? Please welcome Dr. Malik Shilabi, Senior Carbon Pricing Policy and Adventures Advisor at Shell. He most welcome to the stage.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. What a privilege and pleasure it is to be here and deliver the keynote on carbon pricing following Mohsen Jabri's session. So the way it's structured is I've got a few presentation slides and then very happy to take Q&A. What we'll be talking about today first is really the history that Shell has had in Oman, and such a pleasure to be a partner here with the government and our customers and our stakeholders, and looking forward to developing and supporting Oman as and where we see fit. We'll be talking about four things today. The first one is global trends. Where is carbon pricing going? Where has it been? What does it mean? What does Shell do about it? And finally, what are we seeing in Oman, and why are we optimistic about the future? I think if we take a step back, we've really seen tremendous growth in carbon pricing policy. The first carbon price came into effect in 1990, and then you've seen growth ever since then. Today we have around 28% of emissions priced, and despite the oil price dip in 2015, despite COVID, despite geopolitical tensions, you still see carbon pricing being used as a political tool to help governments decarbonize and reach net zero. And so we expect that to continue, and we expect that to grow even further. And so we do see it being a key policy lever that continues to be used. Now, when we talk about carbon pricing, people ask a lot of questions: compliance, voluntary, where, how. And so we've developed a schematic that really tries to simplify the main tools that are being used when it comes to carbon pricing. And the three are compliance, things like the EU ETS, the Singapore carbon tax, Canada's provincial pricing system. Of the 28%, 98% is compliance. So it's a majority of the policy tool sits in this space. Government-backed activities. You then move into the voluntary market, and that is corporate-to-corporate trading. Vera, Gold Standard, and these are voluntary initiatives that companies like Shell agree to participate in. The third one, the new kid on the block, is Article 6, and this is part of the 2015 Paris Agreement that allows governments to work together cooperatively to trade carbon. And so I think the main message here that we see is that we have 28% of emissions priced, 98% of them compliance, but we think there's further growth that will take place across all three. And it's important to recognize that and the way that they interact. It's also important to realize that it doesn't sit in a silo. And so in some parts of the world, you're seeing growth in carbon pricing schemes, Brazil, Malaysia, Oman. But also you're seeing flexibility being incorporated in the EU ETS, the expansion of the aviation sector, the implementation of the CBAM. And so it's increasingly been a subject that is growing in attention and around the world, and it's part of a broader decarbonization policy framework. So it's growing, there's three main tools, and it's packaged as part of a growing environmental policy nexus. And so given that, what do we do at Shell, and why do we think it's important? And I think the main thing that we want to say here is that Shell's been supportive of carbon pricing for over 25 years. We incorporate it as part of our business planning. We screen the impact of carbon pricing on our portfolio, and we believe that it's a key policy tool for decarbonization. We currently pay around $1 billion in carbon prices across the portfolio, and we expect that to grow to $5 billion in the next 10 years. And so we see it as a key tool. We have country-specific carbon prices because we recognize that it varies across countries. And so we don't have a single price point, but we adjust it based on the country design. And we expect these to continue to grow and converge as we get closer and closer to 2030 and 2050. And if you're really interested in these details, very happy to discuss them. I used to be the person that modeled all these numbers, and so I'm very intimately familiar with all of them. And so given that, you've got a policy tool, it's growing, it's country specific, what are our activities, what do we do about it? And I think there's a few things that we're very proud of. I think the first one is that a lot of the work that we do through carbon pricing is with our trade associations. The International Emissions Trading Association, the International Chamber of Commerce, Business Partnership for Market Implementation. And so a lot of our advocacy is with our partners because we do believe that it is multilateral and that it takes place with our partners. The second bit is that we are the world's largest retiree of carbon credits, and we have been for the last 3 years. We see it as a key policy tool and a key tool for corporates to decarbonize in line with best practice and best standards. And here are some facts of the achievements that we've done in the carbon market. And happy to discuss these at greater length. I think the next thing that we want to say is that there's many different ways that we look at this, including the work that we do in Oman. And so in 2023, we worked on a scenario sketch on how can Oman reach net zero with what was the Oman 2040 Vision Office. And what we have found is that once you do the electric vehicles, the hydrogen, the behavior change, the industrial decarbonization, you will still also need to trade a carbon, which the Oman Net Zero Center is very well equipped to do, and we'll talk about that in a second. And you see that there is a need to trade, whether Oman is a buyer or a seller. And a lot of people ask this question, why trade, why do this? And I think when we look at our global scenarios, what we recognize is that not all reductions and removals are equally distributed. The nature is in different parts, the CCS porosity is in different parts. And so therefore, in order to reach net zero at the lowest cost, you will need to trade. And that can help deploy capital, that can help trade the units, and it can help countries decarbonize. And you're already seeing this in the market, Switzerland making deals with Ghana, Sweden making deals via Article 6. And so what these countries have realized is that getting to net zero through domestic action alone will be prohibitively expensive. And therefore, working with partners that have access to those reductions and removals will help them achieve net zero. And this is evidenced with the 70 MOUs Japan has signed with the JCM. It's evidenced with the agreements that Singapore has also signed. And we believe more and more of this will continue to take place. And that's really what this paper talks about, which is why you need carbon trading to help unlock carbon dioxide removals. And that is really the core belief that we have and that we've seen in the market. And I think if you take a look at the EU ETS, it's reduced 40% since 1990. There's effectiveness taking place, and other schemes are also doing the same, such as Canada and Singapore, where we have large presence in those countries. I think the final thing to close with is that we really have a lot to celebrate here in Oman. I think with the Oman Net Zero Center, they've developed the carbon market framework, they've developed the Mizan platform, they are the designated national authority for Article 6, and they are the authorized credits transfer. And I think what you've seen are three main points. I think the first one is that there is an end-to-end framework that allows for the trading of activity to take place, and I think that is your foundation and your key milestone. I think the second one is that when you think of that graph that we had in the beginning, the compliance, the voluntary, the Article 6, there are robust tools in place that allow Oman to participate in all three. And I think some countries start with compliance and then move into voluntary Article 6. Others start with voluntary Article 6 and then move into compliance. And the one thing that we emphasize through our approach is that it continues to be and will continue to be country region specific. So there is no one size fits all. There is no silver bullet. And I think that is a key message that we also want to highlight. The The last message that we want to say is that don't let perfect get in the way of good. And I think what you've seen sometimes is kind of a paralysis by analysis, where the Paris Agreement was signed in 2015, and then the rule book was agreed in 2025. And I think from a corporate perspective, that's a really long time. But when you talk to the Article 6 negotiators, they will tell you we are moving at lightning speed. And so our main message has been, develop and iterate and improve. And you've seen that in markets that have developed. The EU ETS has had 4 phases. They legislated in 1999, the first draft of the bill, and then it went into effect in 2003. You then had the first phase, 2005 to 2008, and then they've had 4 phases since then, with continuous improvement reviews, such as the Market Stability Reserve, the allocation of allowances, et cetera, et cetera. I think what you will also see in Canada is currently the review of the pan-Canadian pricing scheme, where now they're looking to allow provinces to trade within each other as opposed to focus on their own province to help drive greater liquidity. And I think these are types of the things that help give a competitive advantage. In Canada, Shell was the first to develop the world's first commercial CCS project because you had a carbon price, because you had government support, and also because you had the ability to trade. And I think that's really important. But equally, some may say, yeah, but Malik, that's a compliance-based mechanism. It's stick-based, we like incentives. And I think if you look at the other side of the Shell portfolio, we have the flare reduction project via the IFC on the Basra gas reduction. And that is another way that you can look at decarbonizing assets. And so I think the main message that we want to highlight is that it's a policy tool that works. It's a policy tool that we like. We think Oman is doing a fantastic job in operationalizing the market, and we look forward to supporting and participating today and in the future. With that, it's been such a humble privilege to be your keynoter on carbon markets. And with about 5 minutes left, very happy to take any questions if there are any, or move on to the next speaker. Thank you very much. Just looking to the moderator if there's a mic, or if I hand over, what is best for you? I think they're looking for a mic. Any questions?
Malik, maybe I will asking, it's between both you and Mohsen, but it's, maybe you can answer me. For carbon credit, as far as you are having a CO2 reduction, you would like to claim that one. Nevertheless, the legislation that you need to register early enough before sanction the project. And this is the challenge. If the objective is only to drive people for carbon CO2 reduction, okay, then why it is being mandated that you need to start registering earlier enough? Why people who already started, why they cannot have that credit?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and one that comes up a lot. And I think this is part of not letting perfect get in the way of good. And I think these are learnings that the market has developed. And I think different standards have different thresholds in terms of when things will be allowed or not allowed. And I think the reason they have that is it comes down to the purpose of additionality. Is the activity that has been undertaken additional or not? And I think there's ways to improve it. I think as more and more participants engage in the market, then ways to design that will hopefully help drive the greatest carbon reduction that we can see. Great. Well, with that, I'm very happy to hand back to the organizer. Thank you very much, and wishing you a great day at the Oman Sustainability Week.